Today, my guests are Alegre and Natascha. And in this episode, we discuss different things from navigating motherhood with creating businesses, planning, and just kind of finding ways to help people around and planning their lives and do so much more. So, Allegra and Natascha, they are both entrepreneurs and educators, and they have 5 businesses and 3 kids between them. And they are on a mission to help moms and caregivers prioritize themselves, save time, and accomplish their goals. They are also authors of 2 books and 3 web courses. They create actionable, accessible content based in brain science to help many people get results fast. Let's meet Allegra and Natascha. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Gaby U Show. So today I have these amazing women, Natascha and Allegra, here with me. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, Gaby. Thank you for having us, Gaby.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for taking your time to talk with us today. So I'm going to start out with my lovely icebreaker questions. This is a special one, Gaby U special. So I'm going to start with what is your favorite food? So I'm going to start with Natascha first. Tell me, what is your favorite food?
Well, it's so hard to pick one, right? But I definitely have a sweet tooth. And when you said it, the thing that popped into my head, and then let me understand that I have a lot of favorite foods. Okay.
You are not a picky eater, I can tell.
When you said, no, not a picky eater. When you said it, a picture of a cannoli popped into my head. And so I got to go with cannoli.
Cannoli.
I have a huge sweet tooth. And like when a cannoli is done right, when it's just got like that right crisp and the sweetness in the cream. I don't know. I love a cannoli. I don't.
Okay.
That's what popped into my head.
The way she's saying it, if you are watching it, you will be hungry for cannoli. But those of you that are listening to it audio, she has this face like, cannoli. She's making me hungry now.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that for me, I don't know if I can pick a single food. I just have to think of a cuisine because as I mentioned to you in our pre-interview, I have a multicultural background. And so I was raised with a lot of different foods on the dinner table. But whenever I travel, the food I miss first is always Chinese food.
Yeah.
So if I'm living abroad, if I'm, abroad for an extended period of time, I always have to hunt down Chinese food. And this has led me to eat Chinese food in some really strange location. Well, not strange, but I've just been surprised by how different Chinese food is all over the world. Because, like, for instance, in Costa Rica, I had Chinese food and they served the food with white bread on the side instead of white rice.
Oh,
and I was like, there's a lot of rice in Costa Rica. I've been having it every day in Costa Rica. Why is there no rice on the table? But unfortunately, as often happens too, the people didn't actually speak anything other than Chinese. They didn't speak Spanish either. So I couldn't ask them, like, can I just have some rice instead? So Chinese food would be mine.
That is interesting. I was talking with the other guest the other day and we're talking about China. Well, she was talking about and the most healthiest Asian food is Thai food. She likes the Thai. And talking about even the Chinese food that we eat here in America, that is actually more healthier, different when you really eat it there in China.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
They've done a lot of modifications here. So, there's more, not all these oily, like a lot of that, you know. I mean, you have to kind of search for the ones here. There are still good ones here, of course, here in America, but it's just something that, you know.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah. I love that. I love Chinese food. You know, because I like stuff spicy too, you know. Anything spicy, I'm all for it, you know. And I love a lot of Latino foods too as well. And yeah, I would say I'm kind of multicultural too, because I would try everything, all the foods. I'm a specialist in making those foods people will say is healthy and people will say it's unhealthy and then make it healthy. And still tastes
I
good.
do the same.
Still tastes good, doesn't have to taste like paper.
Right.
So that's one of my specialty in doing stuff like that. Like, what is the other way? Yeah. That's why I'm a foodie person. And that's why one of my questions here is, what's your because I'm secretly gonna add it to my list. Well, it's not a secret now that I told you, but you know.
Well, you had mentioned sometime soon that you're gonna come to Los Angeles. And I just have to say to Natascha, I'm craving that sandwich that we had the other day.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
I don't know if you like pizza, Gabby, but
I love pizza.
So there's a Netflix show called The Chef's Table.
Okay.
And they did a season that was all on pizza. And the very first episode features this man named Chris Bianco. And I watched the season, I don't know, a few years ago, I guess. And I guess I had mentioned it to Natascha at some point, but I don't remember exactly what the order of events was, but Natascha said, hey, do you want to have dinner at Chris Bianco's place? And I said, sure. When are we going to Arizona? Because that was the only place that I knew he had, but he was he just opened one here in LA.
Oh.
And we just were able to do our second trip there last week. And I don't think he serves the sandwiches at dinner, right? So we weren't able to order one of his sandwiches, but we went for lunch this time. And the sandwich is so good that someone had just driven in from 2 hours to have it. And we're like, okay, wow, okay, we should get the sandwich. And now I'm like thinking about that sandwich.
Gabby, it's so good. I have friends coming into town in a few weeks, and I was like, well, we're going to lunch for Pizzeria Bianco because we need to go get that sandwich. And it's not close. Like, you know, it's a good half-hour drive from where I live at least, you know. Yeah, but it's worth it.
Yeah, so, if somebody's driving 2 hours, you have half an hour, you girl.
Right. We have no excuse.
So good.
Oh yeah, I do love pizza. I mean, most of the time I will make my own, the gluten-free option, because then I like to make most of my own because I know I'll put all the stuff on it. I can, you know, customize it as much as possible. But I would like to look at that show. Maybe I can do.
Yeah, watch the show first
and modify it to my own.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's great. Well, I'll keep that in mind. I have all this. I think I have one of my friends too from California. She's coming visiting in Dallas for a program, and so me and her are gonna meet up. So I have all this. I have a lot of California friends.
Nice.
Now you guys have joined my list now.
Excellent.
Oh yeah. So the next thing I want to ask you is, what is your favorite quotes? You know, we all have these quotes, you know, that keeps us going and all that, but there's one we kind of hang on. So I want to hear what is your favorite quote? So I'll start with you, Natascha.
Well, I'm gonna get it wrong because
That's me.
It's a long one. But the gist of it is that quote that I think probably just about everybody knows at this point. It was Nelson Mandela quoted it in one of his speeches. It's attributed to Marianne Williamson. And it's basically that we're not limited by or we should not be scared by our limitations or the things that but more so, gosh, I'm totally messing up. Come back to me in 2 seconds. I'm gonna look it up. Okay. I can't believe I'm forgetting it, but it's really a fantastic quote that has always stuck with me. But word for word, I've got the gist.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it to you in just this. Our deepest fear, here we go. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And so I really love that quote. That's the gist of it out of the much longer quote.
Okay.
And mostly that because, you know, when you think of it conventionally, you think that you're stopped by your fears because you're afraid of what's going to happen, or you're afraid that you have like, maybe you have imposter syndrome and so forth. But this idea that, it really maybe scares us a little bit, that we are very, very capable, and that we have a lot that we can accomplish, and a lot that we can either work through or achieve. That sometimes is almost more fearful than thinking we're not going to make it, right? And so this idea of just kind of like turning that idea on its head and looking at it from this great perspective of possibility as opposed to limitation.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I know there's a book I've been sharing all the book to different of my guests and other people around, like this. It's written by Maria Folio. It said everything is figure outable. I don't know if you guys know.
Yes,
yeah, I've read that one.
To my kids all the time.
Yes.
They're like, Mom, what? We can't do it. I'm like, everything's figure outable.
Whatever. Yes. That's the thing. Like, if you can't figure it out, then maybe it's not meant to be. There is just somehow, and I don't know. That's what just came to my mind when you were talking about that. Yeah. All right, that's good. What about you, Allegra?
So I actually have a page of quotes on my blog, so I had to go look at it because I can't. And it's interesting because there are two that stick out to me, and they basically say the same thing in different ways. And it is, where is it? I lost it. Ever since I was a child, I've had this instinctive urge for expansion. To me, the function and duty of a quality human being is the sincere and honest development of one's potential. Bruce Lee.
Okay.
And then the other one is, be not afraid of growing slowly, be afraid only of standing still. Right. So same idea.
Yeah.
That one's a Chinese proverb.
Okay. That is so powerful. That's right. You just, it's I look into that too. Like, when people say, oh, I wish I can do this. I wish I can do that. My thing is that you are here wishing you could do it. You could have already started, and if you would know if it doesn't work, and I always say many times, I'd rather be in a place where I feel like I have tried the stuff than being a place where I'm still like, what would it have been? It takes so much energy, just do it and see.
Absolutely. Especially as people get older, there's this there's this unconscious bias that you can only try new things when you're younger. And I hope to keep trying new things until I'm dead.
That's right. You just said it, like, as long as I'm still moving, I'm breathing, talking. I woke up this morning, girl, I got stuff to do. I don't care how old I am. I'm going to keep doing it. Yeah. That's why, talking, being that I'm a holistic nurse practitioner, is talking about your mind, body, and spirit, keeping yourself healthy, not just physically, but also mentally, spiritually, all this, because you have stuff to do. We need to keep this whole body sane because we got stuff to do. We have a purpose why we are here in this world. So we got to get going, do it. Yeah. Definitely.
What are you going to, what's that other quote? What are you going to do with this one incredibly beautiful life, or something like that?
Yeah. That's another quote.
Oh, you have one. Yeah.
Is that a Marianne Williamson quote?
That's not Marianne Williamson. Oh shoot, I forget who it is. It's not Marianne. What are you going to do with your oh yeah, it's not
what will you do with your one wild and precious life?
Yes, that's
and I don't remember who said it, but I've been listening to an autobiography by Diana Nyad, who is a marathon swimmer, and when she was in her late 50s, someone had asked her, are you still it was Christopher Reeves had asked her if she was still excited about her life. and she realized she wasn't. And so she decided to reignite a dream from her 20s and swim from Cuba to Florida.
Wow.
And, you know, she did it. She accomplished it. It took her 4 tries in her 60s, right? She had tried once in her 20s, but she quotes that a lot, right? What will you do with your one wild and precious life? And this was a dream that had not waned. I mean, it had kind of waned, but more like in the background. It was still there. And so what do you want to do with this one wild and precious life?
Mary Oliver. That quote is attributed to Mary Oliver. I'm like, I have to find out. I can't remember who it is. But yeah, that's a really great question. I love the inclusion of the word wild and precious, right? It's wild really gives you like it's limitless.
Yes.
And it's precious. This is it. This is
one. Yes. Because
make it count.
Yeah, this is where you are. Like when you say, I have heard this stuff a lot, and I've mentioned it a lot in all my podcasts, that when some people, I hear them, they say, I don't have a purpose. No, everybody has, you just have not found it. And also, and sometimes we kind of know, but we are not getting into it because of fear too. And, you know, talking about age, you know, sometimes that thing of age too can be like, oh, it's past my time now. Maybe my kids will do it, you know, maybe somebody else, not me. The train has passed me. You know. Yes, that's like, what are you going to do with this? It's never too late, you know. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, we've had a lot of stories of older people, what they later accomplish, you know, because we don't know when it's our time. We can't say, oh, because, you know, God is the one that will determine when it's your time. I mean, the KFC, is it not when he was in his 70s that he discovered the ingredients?
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's what from what I know, that he was in his 70s. That's, you know, so.
Yeah, there's so many people who are successful later in life, in the second half of their life, for sure, you know? Yeah.
So everybody has their own kind of pathway, and also it's also not comparing. That's comparing like, hey, you know, she got it started when she was 20 and she was this, probably it's not going to work for me. I'm 40 right now, but she told me she started it when she was 20 and I want that and I'm 40. So that is playing that comparison game, and we need to get out of it.
Yes, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
See, we could just talk all day about quotes.
Okay, they're all about quotes. I love it.
You should do an all quotes episode, Gabby.
Yes, like let's just go and dig into it. Yeah, that's like an idea. I'll write it down. Okay, that's something. Do something in the middle of the week and say, this is quotes podcast. Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
that's
just
a great
go
idea.
from quote to quote.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I can go hours for that one. I got a lot of episodes on that. Yeah. So I want to start with you, Allegra. You know, I want you to share with me some of the things you believe has made you this woman you are today, you know, and, you know, like just go as much as you can. The floor is yours.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I'm almost 50. So at this age, I am able to sort of look back and see the 50. Yes, soon. So I'm able to look back now and see the patterns more clearly than, you know, when you're in it, you don't see the patterns, but when you look back, you can see the patterns. And, you know, I started my first business in 2006. I owned an eco one-stop shop called Green and Greener, and I loved it. It was every day felt like I was stepping into my dream. My values and my passion were completely aligned. Except when I opened my store, Amazon only sold books and there was no such thing as a smartphone. And we all know how that went. And so to me, the writing was on the wall really about small retail. And so I chose to close before a lot of big companies. It's interesting watching all these big retailers die. And like, I know the writing was on the wall. They tried to fight it, but you know, I remember when I studied macroeconomics and they were talking about how the invention of flight meant that trains became less important to our transportation of goods and services, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just is, right? You can't fight the forward movement of technology.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I closed that store, and at the same time, I closed my store at the same time my daughter was 2. And so, you know, I was just in the thick of it with having a toddler. I had invented a food product when I still had my store open. I come from a long line of food entrepreneurs. I'm actually a 4th generation food entrepreneur. And I had gotten some interest from Williams-Sonoma and Whole Foods to carry it, but I wasn't able to find anyone who could make it the way I made it. And I also realized that I didn't have the desire to open my own manufacturing facility, because I realized that the business wasn't aligned with my values. What was I helping people do? I was helping people eat one delicious meal. That was not aligned with my values of helping to nurture and empower vibrant, healthy families, right? That's my life mission. And so I had closed the store. I kept the food product going for a couple more years, but when I realized it wasn't aligned with my values anymore, I quickly closed that as well. But I was teaching food classes, which was more aligned with my passion, because I was teaching people how to eat, how to cook healthier. And so it was kind of aligned with my passions, but it didn't feel exactly right. I was like, you know, this feels 80% right, but not exactly right. And people kept asking me, when are you going to write a cookbook? And I was like, of course, I should write a cookbook. You know, I've had a food product. I teach cooking classes. I should write a cookbook. But years passed and I had no desire to write a cookbook. And at some point I realized that that wasn't what I wanted my legacy to be. And I just knew that there was something else out there that was going to feel the way my first business had felt, where I was just going to be like, yes, I'm all in. And it wasn't cooking. And so it's interesting, because in 2019, I said, I'm not going to teach any more cooking classes. And in 2020, I'm either going to write my cookbook or I'm going to take that off my goal sheet. And it was in 2020 that Natascha and I started talking about Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. And as soon as I made the realization that, so I've always been a planner, but about 7 years ago, I realized there were areas of my life that I was having success in, and there were areas of my life, and those were like business and financial. And then there were areas of my life where I felt like I wasn't doing so great, and that was like health and personal relationships. And I took some time to kind of analyze why. And what I realized was that the difference between the two was planning. You know, I have my MBA. I've always been a planner. So I was good at breaking down business and financial goals into steps and then following through on those steps. But I didn't apply that to my health or personal relationships, simply because I think I thought of those as business tools, not personal tools. And the minute I started applying those skills to my personal life, I saw the improvement that I wanted to see. And so I sort of started, people would always ask me, like, how do you have businesses? Because I have more than one. How do you have businesses? How do you homeschool? Because I've homeschooled my child her whole life. And how do you manage to still do things for yourself? Like, for instance, I'm doing a stand-up comedy festival next month, right? How do you manage to do all those things? And I always told people, through planning. And I didn't really, you know, when something's so ingrained in you and you have difficulty explaining it to other people, like that's just how I've done things. And so Natascha was one of the people who had asked me, and I sort of informally was coaching her and some other people. And then at some point I said to Natascha, you know what, I think I could turn this into a process and teach people this skill of planning that is kind of ephemeral in my mind right now, but I think I could get it into 6 steps. And we started talking about it. And I said, you know what? I think this could be a business and I'd love to do it with you. And what do you think? And from the moment she said yes, I was like, this is the thing that is perfectly aligned with my values and that is exciting to me. And it was, you know, the cooking was like 75%. This immediately felt 100% to me.
Wow. It's, you know, as you're just talking, it's like, oh my God, is she talking about my life? Because, oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, so it's just so convicting to me. So I am somebody too, like I said before we started, like I'm a multi-passionate person, and I actually I am planning on doing this cooking classes because I do a lot of cooking videos, and people have asked me like that too. When I writing a cooking book, I was actually gonna write my cooking book before I got pregnant. So, but I mean, I've written a book which I collaborated with a bunch of practitioners, but cooking book has been in my mind. I already have all the recipes, and but then I'm like, oh, is this really what I want to do? And so I'm just like, as you're just talking all this, I'm like, okay, we gotta get excited. We're gonna talk about this planning stuff. I think this is what I need. Because I feel like I have so many things I do, and sometimes people ask me, I'm like, what do I really do? Because I am so, but I think you just hit the nail on the head, this planning. So we'll get back to oh my goodness. Wow, that's amazing. So Natascha, I want you to share with me your own part, your own story of how you got here today, being this woman.
I love, Gaby, that you call yourself a multi-passionate person, and that's really, I love that, because I can relate to that very much. So, I'm very fortunate that Allegra, I come to Allegra because I've seen her, she had done this kind of soul searching or an analysis of why certain areas of her life weren't working. And I definitely was a beneficiary of that because I looked over at her, and we'd been friends for a while, and our kids get along great. And, I've been an entrepreneur as well, like running my own business since 2007, being a stay-at-home, work from home mom, but feeling like I really was just, like I was doing well in the business and doing well as a parent, but like just really feeling like I was barely keeping my head above water.
Mm-hmm.
And so in some respects, and then I'd have like these inspired ideas and get excited and passionate about certain things, but I would continuously put them on the back burner. I'm like constantly just shelving it because, somebody needs a diaper change or, something else happens with my business. And it was really just kind of like this kind of like day-to-day maintenance thing and not really putting myself first, not putting what I was looking to do first. And especially had something to do just with me, right? If it was something to do with my kids or my husband, then I could go ahead and get forward movement on that. But I see Allegra over there, not only running her business, excuse me, homeschooling too. Like not only is she a stay-at-home mom, but she's also homeschooling, which is like a whole nother level that I was definitely not engaging in. Plus being able to do all these other projects that she was passionate about, and they're going on family vacations. And, I just said, I was like, girl, how do you do it? Like, how do you get it all done? And so she basically started informally coaching me. And then out of that, this business was born, BYWD, like she just mentioned, like, we had this conversation where she was just like, here's the planner I use, and this is the way I use it. And I cracked open that planner at like early March 2020. So we know how that went. I started like, getting into it and following Allegra's advice. And then I really kind of just like shelved it because, everything just came to a screeching halt. And, next thing you know, I'm like washing my heads of lettuce and every onion, right? Instead of things got really weird there for a minute, right? And so, a few months into 2020, Allegra, or into the lockdown, Allegra was like, hey, did you ever really kind of, look at that thing that I had suggested? And I was like, I had not, girl. And she's like, well, let's kind of walk through it together. And that's how this all came about, and it has been this last 2 years have been a really fun ride. We've created this. I'm super excited to share the course that we created together. I really do feel like it makes a huge difference for people in, our age and stage, but also, I mean, it's universally available, like universally people can use it. But like, I think also when you have so many different claims on your time as a mom, as a, like the main chef, the chauffeur, the housekeeper, whatever, you have all these roles, and it's so easy to back burner yourself and your dreams. And it's been really exciting to like pivot and like actually make some headway into things that
Wow. I'm like, you girls, that's what it's like. I'm just as you just putting that all together. I'm just like, woo, Gaby, this is what you need, I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. So what would you say that you are most proud as a woman today?
That's a good question.
I know you're proud of many things, but
Well, I mean, I'm proud of the fact that my husband and I have been together for 25 years and we still like each other.
That's big. That's a biggie.
yes, that's one for sure.
And I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but if you have a kid, you know, it is so fun watching my child become the person that she is. And I mean, there's just nothing, you know, she on a fairly regular basis, she thanks me for being the mom that I am. And actually the other day she said, "Thank you, Mom, for giving me such an interesting life." And I was like, oh my God, what 12-year-old? I mean, maybe many 12-year-olds say that, but it just felt so good. And so I was super proud of that.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. Wow.
Yeah, that's wonderful when they're that aware of what, you know, like I feel like I was in my 30s when I looked back and was like, yeah, mom and dad did okay. You know what I mean? Like, I think it took me like a decade or so. Like, you know, when I was in the midst of it, I don't, as a 12-year-old, 15, 16-year-old, especially not, you know, I don't think I was aware of like what it takes as a parent, you know, to go ahead and give your kid the life that you'd like for them to lead. So that's amazing. I've had similar moments. I don't know if it has been like a direct quote like that, but the first thing that came to mind, Gabby, when you asked that question is, I am super proud of my kids. I'm super proud. Like they're, you know, I get feedback from other people that tell me like, we really love having your kids around. And, you know, they're super, you know, they're super cute and engaging. And of course they're cute, but I mean, like and so the feedback, you know, and on the academic side, they're killing it and you know, they're just really crushing that, and that's great. That's awesome. Not, you know, no complaints there, but it's not just about grades and how well they're doing in sports and so forth. Like they just really are. I am super enjoying because they're at that mode. They're both in their double digits now where, you know, more and more, they're a little bit more independent, you know, and they've always had very distinct personalities, but, you know, you can really see, you know, the adults that they're coming into probably being, hopefully, you know, and I love the trajectory. I'm super proud of my boys.
That is amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of the guests I've had too is one of those things that they say if they're proud to be a mom, that they're mom to these children or proud of their children and the family. It's like this common thread of what, you know, because, you know, these things are not easy.
No, and I remember reading a quote, again, going back to quotes, by Jacqueline, did she say Jacqueline or Jacqueline? Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. And she said something to the effect of, look, I love my work, but if I messed up my children, I just don't understand what would have been the point of being a mother. It was something to that effect. And it's like, you know, my child was very purposefully conceived, you know, like I had made it through, you know, we were advanced maternal age. We talked about this again in the pre-interview. All of us experienced advanced maternal age, right? Like I got to advanced maternal age because condoms work. And so I specifically had to not use condoms in order to get pregnant, right? So it was all very purposeful. And so I decided if I was going to choose to bring this soul into the world, then I was going to do my best.
That's amazing. And, you know, this empire you're building. That's why
I like that empire.
Yeah, you know, the kids, they are watching, you know, they said, you know, the kids are like moving cameras in the house. You know, it might be that you think they are not watching. And the thing about it is they say that they will do what you tell them when they are little, but when they grow up, they will do what they have seen you do. So, you know, we doing all this stuff, taking care of ourselves and everything. We are also doing it for these people that are watching us. These are kids, you know, we're not doing it just for ourselves. Of course, we have what we say, we want to take care of ourselves, self-care and all that. But again, if we cannot take care of ourselves, what do we have to give out to our kids and people in the world? Like we are here, we're not to be just be in this world to be alone. It's to share all these wonderful things from us, you know, to our family, to the friends, and
yeah,
that need us. So that's why.
And that actually sounds like a perfect segue to just mention that we do. You had asked it in one of your questions in your form.
Yeah.
If we have a freebie, and it is called Rock Your Morning, 3 Simple Steps to Take Control of Your Morning. It's a video series.
Okay.
And it's all about helping people create a morning ritual. And really, our focus in BYWD, which stands for Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, is to empower moms and caregivers to prioritize themselves, save time, and accomplish their goals. And we feel like the number one tool that every caregiver needs in their arsenal is a self-care ritual. It could be in the morning or in the evening. We do suggest morning for specific reasons, which you'll find out about in the free videos. And it's literally 3 2-minute long videos, and we send you one a day, 3 days in a row. And that'll get you started on creating a morning ritual to take care of yourself. And you can find that at our website.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Wow. That's this. So I know if you want to, Natascha, if you want to just say one word before you step out, tell viewers, listeners, what are some encouraging words you want to give today before we round this podcast?
It's something that I'm on this journey with it, so I'm not excellent at this stage in the game, and we're all like works in progress, right? And it's something that Alegre and I say all the time inside of this morning ritual routine thing that we were talking about, and in our other courses and stuff, which is self-care is healthcare, and that it's not a luxury. And so you taking care of yourself, you taking that minute to yourself, you taking that moment to yourself is not selfish. And it's, whether it means you make yourself a cup of tea in the morning, or you do a little journal, or you do a stretch, or whatever it is. And we talk about this more in our morning ritual book and the little video series. But that self-care is healthcare. And it's like so important that, because like you're the hub of the wheel, right? And there's these spokes that come out as your family and your career and all those other things. But if you're not taking care of that axle or that hub, man, it's just not, like that's going to weaken everything else, right? And so we often feel as moms that we do need to back burner ourselves. And I'm just recognizing that like taking care of yourself is so important. And self-care is often associated with like massages and mani-pedis, and yes, absolutely fantastic, treat yourself, right? But like at the same time, recognize that self-care is a daily thing. It's it's as simple as brushing your teeth, which hopefully we're all doing twice a day, but beyond, like, so that falls under self-care as well, but it's beyond, right, just that regular kind of just maintenance stuff, that little thing, that thing that's like, what's going to set me up for a good day today, so that I have a little more bandwidth, so that when the kids are going a little crazy, or that last minute email has come in and I'm also got something on the stove, I've got some bandwidth so that I can kind of like move through this where it doesn't, create a pressure cooker, and that is really important. Like you said, Gabby, the kids are watching, right? So if you're not taking care of yourself, your kids are going to think like, oh, this is how adults adult. This is adulting. You just barrel forward and sacrifice yourself on the altar of motherhood to get it done, and I absolutely, I'm not interested in that. I say all the time that I'm raising boys that are hopefully that they're like observant and kind and like for lack of a better word, helpful, right? Meaning just like that they can see, and that they take care of themselves, as well as then take care of others. And I definitely have to shift away from it. It's hard, like, because it's easier for me to do some stuff than it is to like help walk them through something and then take the time to do that. And my goodness, but later on, that also is ultimately self-care, right? I have to tell this story really quick. My son, the other day, I was working till like 9 p.m., which usually means that dinner is, I have like a 15-minute break. And so like, maybe I just throw on some pasta and we do something really quick. And I came downstairs on my break, and my 9-year-old had chopped up all the vegetables. The pot of water was boiling. And I was just blown away because he was going off a recipe card. He's like, oh, Mom, I'm so glad you came down. Where's the pasta? And I was like, what's going on? And he had made this, they had made this meat from a meal kit. So he just followed all, but that's from him, living by example, like you said. But then ultimately I was like, oh, wow, this really has been you know, because I've included him on when I'm cooking and I'm having him help me, right? And he was able to just completely take it over with zero prompting, just did it on his own, you know? And so, excuse me, that kind of veered off on the self-care thing, but like self-care is healthcare. That's the number one thing, and that you are worth taking care of. Your health is a number one priority, physical, mental, emotional, really important, all those health categories.
Yeah, you just rounded it up with my language. Being a holistic person, this is just like, yes. That is awesome. I want you to share with me, what are some encouraging words you want to give our listeners today?
I want you to know that it is okay and necessary to speak up for your needs. You know, I feel like humans, we have one of two ways of responding to how we were raised or to the modeling that we see happen around us, right? We either embrace it or we reject it and we decide to find something else. And one of the things that I felt like I saw a lot in the generation of mothers who came before me was this unspoken belief that they shouldn't have to say what they needed, that people should be able to read their minds almost and just know that they needed a break or a rest or whatever. And I saw that that just did not work well for that generation. And they did feel like they were sacrificing themselves on the altar of their family. And they didn't seem to realize that they had the power to take themselves off that altar, right? They didn't have to bleed out everywhere. And Natasha and I often use the analogy of flying in airplanes and how the flight attendants say to put on your oxygen mask first. But what they don't say is, because if you don't do that, then you're going to be passed out in the aisle and you're not going to be able to help anybody. And the reality is if you are depleted emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, and or if you are resentful, which it's really easy to become resentful as a caregiver. I totally get it. However, no one's going to look out for your health like you. No one can do self-care for you. It's called self-care for a reason. You have to speak up. You have to establish your boundaries. And that's really what we try and help you do in our courses, in our content, is using, you know, science-backed methods to help you find your voice, find what it is you care about. Like you heard me talking earlier about my values and being able to evaluate why one business wasn't perfect for me and the other one was. Like that's all about identifying my values, which might be something that you think, well, that sounds great, but I don't know how to do that. We get it. It's not something that I learned in school either. It's something that I just kind of, you know, I've been alive for half a century. So I figured some stuff out, thank goodness. But look, you know, you could probably figure out this stuff too, but why would you want to wait when Natasha and I can spoon feed it to you in a way that is not just really accessible, which is, you know, what we excel at. We both have a long history of being educators. So we know that different people take in information differently, which is why we have the same information that we have in our free videos. We also have it as a book, right? Because some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people like to watch. We also keep things short. You see, our books are super short and they're workbooks.
Like this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're workbooks because science has shown that you learn better when you do something rather than just hear about it, right? Theory is fine, but exercises is what gets it into your brain and makes it information that becomes a part of you. And so, you know, why would you spend the 50 years that I spent kind of like, what do I do, when like we make it so easy? And I'm so great, you know, this is my ultimate legacy to my child. Like she will know this stuff inside and out because she's been exposed to it so early. So I just feel like, God, when she becomes 18 or 21, like she's just gonna hit the ground running. Whereas I was like, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, we always want our kids to do better than us, you know?
Absolutely.
And goes on and on like that. Let them do better, you know, than us.
Yeah. And you know, that's really why we focus on caregivers, is not just because I know you need it because I've been there, right? I've been
Yeah.
a caregiver and feeling like, I feel like I'm losing myself in being a caregiver, right? We've been there, but also because that's the greatest way to create culture change, because when you teach caregivers, then they pass it on to the people that they care for, right? And so Natascha's raising these boys who are going to be, kinder and more helpful than hopefully the generation before. And my daughter is going to be more vocal, right, than maybe the generation before. But look, like, release the blame. It is so, one of the things we were talking about the other day, Natascha and I were talking about how, the hard part about being a mother is that the first 5 years of a child's life, you have to be so in there, right? I mean, every year gets a little easier, but year one is just, I remember on my daughter's first birthday, my husband and I spontaneously high-fived and said, "She's alive." And neither of us knew that we were holding that response. Like, we felt so tense about it, but apparently we did. And every year gets a little easier, but those first 5 years, especially I breastfed for 3. So, it's intense, and it's long enough that you can forget what it was like to just take care of yourself, right? 5 years, that's like your new normal. And so when my child hit 5, that was when I had this, that's when I took that time to figure out, like, why are this area working and this area not working? I said, you know what? I'm not okay with losing my identity as an individual. How can I get this back? And it is something that you have to do, though, proactively, because first of all, it's just so easy to, kind of lose yourself in your child's needs. And if that's what you want, that's great. All that I'm saying is that if that isn't what you want, then you have to be proactive about figuring out what you do want, because our society's expectations will make it very easy for you to just continue to sacrifice yourself on the altar of your family.
Well, you said it all. That's the thing. That's a lot of, you don't have to, I mean, when you have your child or have children, I mean, sometimes there are a lot of stuff that you have to adjust. It doesn't mean you should just totally give it up. I know sometimes we have the period where we'll say we give it up, but then when we get our body back, mentally, physically, because, it takes a lot of that energy to raise a child, like you said, that first 5 years. But, you can still always go back. And that's why we say, don't say I'm too old, my time has passed, because it's another thing I keep on repeating about work burnout, that a lot of the times when we are talking about work burnout, most of the times we are looking at the because you are overwhelmed doing a lot. But another part of work burnout is when you are not doing the things you love, things you're passionate about. That is another portion of work burnout.
Absolutely. And also, too, in terms of it's never too late. I would not have thought of this business until I got to the age that I got to, right?
That's
because
right.
I had to become a mother. I had to go through that struggle of, okay, wait, where does my child start and I end, right? And then I had to figure out how to make it work. So it all happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen, which, again, it's easy to look backwards and to see the path.
That's right, because it couldn't have come, because when you have a child, now you still have that desire to do the other stuff, and you want to figure out the planning. So all those things you've learned over the years, like, okay, we got to figure out this stuff because we don't want to be going crazy here. How do we do all this stuff and still be sane?
Exactly. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that it is my morning ritual that really helps keep me sane.
Yes.
I take about an hour every morning to just focus on myself, and my child and my husband understand that that's my time.
Yes.
And I do all my things, and it's amazing because there have been some unexpected benefits of having a morning ritual, which is, we're all our own worst critics, right? But sometimes, and this is actually something my daughter said to me, she said, Mom, sometimes I find that my worst critic is actually my best motivator. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, because, so she was running track and she said that her worst critic says, you're slow, I'm faster than you. And she actually personalizes her worst critic.
Yeah.
Like her worst critic is faster than her. And she said, no, I'm going to beat you. And that's how it motivated her. And it's true. Like I don't feel like my worst critic is a bad voice. I feel like my worst critic is actually just reminding me of the things that I want to do, right? Which is like, have you drunk enough water? Have you gotten in some movement today? Have you put on sunscreen?
Yes.
Have you made forward movement on that project? Those are all things I want to hear.
Yes.
However, what I found is that by having a morning ritual, that voice is silent because I do all those things in that 1 hour block.
Yes.
And that voice is like,
there's nothing to say.
Nothing to say.
Doing it.
And so like, I feel so much calmer
yes.
and more focused when I'm doing things because all those little tabs are not popping open. Like, you you need another glass. Did you take your supplements? Right? Those voices are silent. So that's been such an incredible benefit that I hadn't expected, but that we definitely have experienced.
It matters a lot, those routines, because I have some certain ones that I do, but I know I can benefit from more. and
we like to call it ritual because we do, routine is just
rituals. Yeah.
Yeah. We there's a little bit of sacredness.
Yes.
You saying I'm important enough to take this time, and not everyone's going to take an hour.
Yes.
And when you're starting out creating a new habit, the science says, it takes a few months. So we don't want you to do a million things. We want you to try to do one thing, right? So it's going to start out small. My morning ritual has literally changed even up until last year. And now I just kind of expand it. Like, for instance, I haven't added anything new this year, but I've been doing face yoga for a couple of years now, but I'm doing it longer and more purposeful by following a specific program, right? Okay. So I'm going deeper into my practice rather than adding anything new. But I didn't add face yoga in until about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So, it's constantly evolving. And Natascha's is totally different. Her morning ritual is broken into 2 parts because she does part of it before she drives her kids to school, and then the other half of it when she gets back. So everyone's morning ritual looks different. And it's completely personal to you and your needs and your schedule.
All right. So, these things, they are really very helpful. I'm just looking at it like, I need to get some of this things for myself. Yeah, it helps because the way you doing all this stuff, before starting your day, it's so important because it makes your day better, so you're not like everywhere. You have more success and have, how will I say, more chances of getting stuff done more effectively.
Absolutely.
So if you can't do 1 hour, hey, you got to get some time. If it's 15, 30, but doing something, not just running out of the house or starting work if you're not working from home, whatever. But it's very necessary. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, because if you don't start your day with that kind of intentionality, then it's very easy, especially as a caregiver, for your day to just attack you. Like, you have to do this. So it's about being proactive rather than being reactive.
Yes, we have to be intentional because I don't know, that's one of these things in our lives that we seem to have, and I think you mentioned in the beginning part, like we have plans, we do so well planning stuff for work and all these things, but when it comes to our own self-care, it's like, why are we not doing that same thing? Planning for ourselves the way we plan. We are so organized in our work, we get everything done, we are doing all this meeting with people and bringing all these ideas, making sure that everything's running smoothly. Why are we not doing it?
Yes.
For our health, for personal care, all this stuff, so it's all applicable. So how can people reach you, where are you hanging out, if you can share all this stuff. I know you shared some of all this, and I want you to share more.
Yeah, just
things. Yes.
you can find everything at bywdreams.com. So it stands for Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, bywdreams.com. And all of our social media handles are at bywdreams. So you can find us on Facebook and social media Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, although we're there a little bit less than we used to be. So yeah, bywdreams.com. And that's where you can sign up for our free 3 video series and find out about our books and everything all in one place.
So, okay. So all this stuff, I'm gonna be putting it in the description area. Of course, this is gonna be on YouTube. You will see it there, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else you can get your podcast. You see that in the description area. So I highly recommend you guys check this thing out. Check the website and you pretty much get all the stuff. I know there are a lot of goodies there. I personally, I'm already thinking of gonna be going to our website and get some stuff there. Because
great. We look forward to seeing you around more, Gaby.
Yes, because we need all this stuff. These are stuff to up-level ourselves. We want to, this is why we are having different guests each week, because everybody brings their kind of flavor to our lives. And I want you guys to tap on this too and make use of it. So thank you so much, Allegra, for coming. And also Natascha, I know she'll have to leave a little bit early. I'm thankful for you ladies coming today. Taking this time, and I'm very grateful for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes. And so, people, this comes to the end of the Gaby U Show today. And I want to end this show today with one of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou that says, "When you know better, you do better." All right, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.